It's late night here in Southern Oregon, but I'm back with a little tale about the Dead Kennedys, and more specifically, Jello Biafra and hanging backstage with him. Got a cool story, but check it out, man. It's my favorite album by the Dead Kennedys. I guess this one and their second album would be my, both contenders, but this is Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. And this copy is autographed by the great Paul Roessler, who played keyboards on Stealing People's Mail, and he played keyboards on another one, but of course they make it impossible to read on purpose, which I love that, man. Drug Me is the other one. So yeah, Dead Kennedys' first two albums in my book are the best. However, you can't go wrong with Jello Biafra on lyrics. So all of the Dead Kennedys albums are amazing. And when they broke up, to me, the band kind of broke up. But that's just me. But Jello Biafra was the man and still is when it comes to lyrics. I'm telling you, profound stuff when you're a guy from the Midwest and the band The Dead Kennedys breaks through into your consciousness. It's quite a profound experience, and yet hardcore punk. Yeah, so there's all these different levels of awakening happening without sounding too woo-woo, or as people say, hippy-dippy. So we're going back to Chicago, man, and I had been writing to Jello Biafra, the great lyricist and frontman of the Dead Kennedys, since about 83, because of course he ran and continues to run his record label, Alternative Tentacles Records, and I wanted some records that he wanted and vice versa, and so we did a little record trade back in the day. And when we did that trade, we continued to write on and off sporadically. I kept writing back to him and he would write handwritten letters to me, so it was cool. One of my punk rock heroes and icons sending me little letters in the mail, which I'm telling you, I still have about 2 or 3 that somehow survived the Alameda fires of 2020. I still have a few that I found here. And I was always grateful to Jello for giving me the time of day, because I know, he's one of those guys that probably constantly gets attention about, hey, can I interview you? Or, hey, what's your opinion on this? I know he keeps his private business private. But, what was cool is when the band embarked on their Frankenchrist tour, I was on the guest list when they played Chicago, and I didn't even freaking know it. What happened was the Frankenchrist album came out, right? 1985. They have a poster inside. The poster was drawn by the awesome artist known as H.R. Geiger. If you don't know who H.R. Geiger is, check it out, guys. Look it up. But he did a poster titled Penis Landscape, and it was pretty controversial at the time, believe me. Back in 1985, it didn't take much to rile up the moral majority, which, of course, people would always say the moral majority are neither. So this poster has these guys banned. It has them going to court. It has people talking. It's got the poster being taken out at certain record stores. They're forced to be taken out, and they couldn't put it out, I believe, with the poster. And I do say Jello Biafra needs to be commended for that good fight. But you know what? That good fight, I'm sure he'll admit, took a lot of toll on the guy's health. It took a toll on the band's personal relationships. It took a toll on a lot of stuff in that direction because of the fight, all the money draining, all the energy draining, all of the slander, just the stuff coming from the man that they had to go through in order to win. So Jello, hey man, cheers to you. And we're going back to the day of November 2nd, 1985, the Palace Theater in Chicago. I can't remember who I went to the show with, guys. I don't know, man. Sometimes you don't remember. But I would get to the show and there's a girl there and there's a guy named Eric and they're hanging out. Eric tells me he's been writing to Jello like I have been for a couple of years. Well, he was on the guest list too and he didn't know it. Well, we start hanging out all day long because we're there early. And the next thing you know, it's time's going by. We're walking down in the alleys and shopping and doing all this. We're getting ready for the Dead Kennedys, man. And do you know who was on the bill? The Criminally Insane, Naked Ray Gun, and the Crucifix with Dr. Art. Yeah, good stuff there, man. That was a crazy lineup, and it was a great one, man. The Frankenchrist tour, Dead Kennedys. So we're in the actual venue, right? Me, Eric, the girl I met, my friends, we're all hanging out, and somehow or another we had talked to Jello before the show a little bit, and next thing you know, we're standing on the barrier, like leaning up by the front monitors and the barriers and stuff, right by the front of the stage. And here comes Jello Biafra real quick. And we're like, hey, there's Jello coming out. And he comes over and hands me a backstage pass. And he hands this Eric guy a backstage pass. And I'm like blown away by this. I'm like, what? Really? Sick. But of course, no one was saying the expression sick then. And, you know, what do? I hang out with people in Portland too much. I'm joking. My youngest daughter says sick a lot, so I picked it up. What can I say? Picking up habits from my kids. Jeez. But no. Anyway, it was great. So me and Eric went backstage. The next thing you know, we're back there with, you know, all these guys. East Bay Ray, Klaus Fluoride, and of course, DH Peligro. Boy, my memory's going, guys. I better keep doing these videos before I'm like, pachoo. DH Peligro, rest in peace, brother. What a drummer. I was always admired that guy, and I got a chance to talk with him, and he was super cool. I loved him. Good sense of humor. I got to tell you, though, man, when me and Eric interviewed Jello, which was going to be shared by us, Eric kept most of the interview, and I was allowed to keep 8 minutes and like 13 seconds. So I'm going to drop that little interview in the description area below for you guys to check out on my other YouTube channel, The Church of Rock. Subscribe to my channel, both of them if you would, and give us a like and a comment. But I'll leave that link below, and you'll hear the 8 minutes and 13 seconds of me talking to Jello back in 1985. I would have been about 20 years old. 19 years old. 19, yeah. So, my friends, the show starts, right? We do the interview with Jello, and Eric never sent me the rest of the interview. Shame on you, Eric. But I did publish the little part that I have in one of my fanzines. Jello Biafra and I end up hanging out in one of the balconies. If you've never been to the Palace Theater in Chicago, beautiful, plush, old theater, probably back in the vaudeville days, who knows, but it's Art Deco. It's got like these beautiful, like velvet-lined balconies. And Jello asked me if I wanted to come along and chill while he did vocal exercises. I said, yeah. So, I got to admit, it was really funny. I was gagging because the way he did it was like, and he would do like these bizarre vocal things where he was stretching his voice. But what he really was, Jello was a pro. Yep. Later on in life, being a vocalist myself, I was able to use these techniques that he did for myself, and I learned, you know, what to drink, what not to drink. I asked Jello if he wanted to drink beer with me after the show. He said, look, when I don't drink much on tour, because when you do what I do, you get a hangover in about 20 minutes. And I'm like, sure enough, he was right. All these years later, I reflected on all the days I drank. He's right. He was a prophet. He knew what he was talking about. He was a pro. Jello, here's to you, man. People are saying, wow, is Jello paying for this or something? No, man, I'm just a fan telling a fan's tale. Give me a break, man. Trying to preserve a little punk rock history. So the band comes on, the Criminally Insane. They have this bald-headed singer. Awesome band. Completely intense, crazy punk show. The Criminally Insane. What a great band name. Then, of course, I don't remember Naked Raygun. Not a huge fan of them. I'm not going to say anything bad about them because I'll get skewered. And I got to say that 99% of my comments are very positive. And then there's that 1%. And you people are vicious. Go ahead and say your thing. I won't even address it, man. It's all good here. Lots of love to all of you. I don't want to sound like Ozzy and say, I love you all. But I will say I love you all. So, the Dead Kennedys, I'm sitting with Jello in the balcony. He's doing his vocal exercises. He's still doing the and I'm literally laughing. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of you, but it was just like this guy being a pro. And I think he was used to it because he was patient with me laughing and probably thought, this drunken bastard, But he had a lot of cool stuff to say to me. He talked about Gigi Allen. He said, even the most politically dogmatic people in the Bay Area had a soft spot for Gigi Allen because he was so extreme. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to say. He was, this was 1985, remember? And I remember Jello saying, too, democracy is for people who can afford it. So we're sitting there watching The Criminally Insane. Naked Ray Gun plays, of course, and then the Crucifix come on, and oh my freaking God, man. The Crucifix with Doc Dart were an energy to be reckoned with. A really awesome band, completely different. You have Doc Dart, this guy that was like the singer of this band, the short little guy that was very crazy on stage. Turns out he had some kind of personality disorder. And I'm not making fun of people with personality disorders by any means, but they were intense. And I remembered that Jello was particularly enthralled with watching them and wanted to watch them. He even said, I've got to watch these guys. Look, it's the Crucifix. And they were signed to Alternative Tentacles Records, by the way. So yeah, they were intense and very good. You've got to listen to those guys. So Jello and the boys, the Dead Kennedys, end up going on stage, right? And next thing you know, I'm in this weird position of kind of going, here I am on the side of the stage. I kind of want to be back in the crowd so I can watch the band in the front and see the whole show. But I was restricted to the side because I really didn't want to like lose my backstage access. But what happened was I kept jumping off the stage and stage diving, and I had never stage dived until that show. And I don't think I ever did ever since. But it was so freaking fun because everybody caught me. It was back in the day where punk rock was still like, there was this great unity. It was a big force still. And by the way, punk's not dead, man. It's just not. It's just being always being reinvented in different ways. And a lot of the old punks are still around. But, you know, it was amazing. I was watching Jello. If you're in front of the stage, I'm to the right, right? And Jello's wearing this green see-through like rubber glove on one of his hands, like a operating like doctor's glove. It was trippy, very symbolic in some weird way. But he wore that a lot. And halfway through the show, when he's running around being this massive tornado of energy that he was, and boy, was he awesome to watch. He literally was like shirtless and just wearing his pants. He was sweating like a pig. And he took that glove and threw it on the stage. And I, being the fanboy that I am, went over and picked it up. And I stuck it in my pocket. And I had that glove up until 2020 when the Alameda fires came through California and Southern Oregon and ripped through and burned down everything in my storage units. And I lost all of my pop culture items for 50 years. True story. But it was amazing to watch Jello Biafra and those guys. It was crazy amazing, really. They were a force and they were something else. And I don't mean to offend those that think the Dead Kennedys are still the same without Jello. They're not the same. I'm sorry. But that guy's lyrics were profound, ahead of their time, prophetic, and just simply amazing. Yep. Sorry, Jello. I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but hey, man, just being honest. And yeah, there are some stories I have later down the road about Jello and meeting his parents at a church in Boulder, Colorado, and having encounters with Jello Biafra in Illinois and Champaign, Illinois, and Peoria, Illinois as well. Let me check my notes. Do I have anything further? Please subscribe to the channel, like us, give a comment, and share, and I really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow with yet another rock and roll story. I'm going to do 3 in a row, 3 days in a row, you guys. And yeah, thanks again to Jello Biafra for putting me on the guest list, and I didn't even know it. He told me after we got backstage that night, though. So, yeah. Cheers to the Dead Kennedys with Jello Biafra. And have a lovely morning, night, afternoon, whenever you're watching. Oh, by the way, there's always room for Jello.